Hello friends, welcome to another video and JavaScript. So in this video I will be talking about this keyword in nodejs environment. So in the previous video I explained that how this works in the browser. So this time around I'm going to explain how it works in nodejs environment. So there is a little bit of difference. So let us see what kind of difference it is between nodejs and browser environment in terms of these uses. So in this video I will be covering three things. So we will see first of all how this works in global scope. The next thing that I will cover is how this works inside a function. And thirdly we will see how this works in the classes as well. So let's get started with the global scope first. So let us just try to print this in global scope. So if I run this one, let's see what the output comes. And as you can see, this in the global scope refers to empty object. Basically this empty object, so basically in the global scope it refers to module.exports object in nodejs equals to this. Okay, so that is what happens in the global scope. It is referring to the module.exports. So module.exports is another object, and that we can use to export some of the methods, variables, declarations into another file. So in global scope this is pointing to the module.exports. Okay, so you need to remember that. In browser environment there is no object called as module.exports. Okay, because browser doesn't understand CommonJS modules and module.exports as well. So that is one thing to remember. Now the next thing is inside the function. So I'm going to create a simple function quickly. Say F1, and here I'm going to print again the same thing, Control Shift L, this in function. So let us try to print this here. I'm going to call it here. So I created a simple function and I'm calling it. Let us see what happens to this. So you can see in the global scope it is pointing to module.exports, which is an empty object. But inside the function it is referring to an object called as global, and it has got a lot of useful methods in that: clear interval, clear timeout, set interval, set timeout, queue microtask, performance, then clear immediate, set immediate. So these methods are available. Now I'm going to call this function by binding the object to this function. So let us create another object. Let O1 is equal to, say, name. Name is, for example, Sagar. Now let us bind and call it. So we can use the call method for that. So just F1 dot call. So we are calling the F1 function with this object O1. That's it. And now if you try to print this or execute it, remember that previously this was pointing to the global object. Now if you run it, the function is same. Remember that function is same function you're calling, but with f1.call. So I'm just going to comment this out, and you can see this time around this is pointing to object O1. So you can see this in the function is pointing to this object, which is nothing but O1. So as you can see, this is behaving differently, like depending upon how it is being called, how the function is being called. Okay, now let us move on to the next thing, that is how it behaves in the classes. So I'm going to create a simple class called as user. So that is how you can create the Es6 class. This is the new feature that has been added in Es6. So normally we have got one constructor function here, and we are going to pass one parameter there, and in here this is the field, class field name, and this is how I'm going to assign. So when we create an instance of this class, we can pass the name, and then it will create an object with the property name in that. And here this will refer to the object that has been created using the new operator. So I will come back to that, but before that let us create one method called as print in here. So let us create static method, static print one. and I am going to print these details here. So let us see what where this is pointing. This in print1, for example, static. It is a static method, so I'm just going to put static here, and I'm going to create another method. So if you don't put static, what happens is that that method is attached to the instance directly. The static method is linked to the user class, but if you don't use the static keyword, then what will happen is that this method will be, for that instance. See, each instance that you create will have this method, and you can call this method using that instance, like say object1 dot print or something like that. And if you want to call print1, you can use user dot print1 like this, because it is a static method. And in here, let us see where this is pointing to, and I'm going to create another method but on the user prototype. So to create a method on the user prototype, that is how you can do, say print3 is equal to function and in here we will print the value of this. This is in prototype. So what we are going to do is we are going to call all these methods one by one, print1, print2 and print3. So remember that print1 is a static method, so we will call it using user dot, directly the class name user dot print3. And to call these other methods, this one and the prototype one, we will have to create an object. So let u1 is equal to new user, and let us pass, say, Amol. And then what we are going to do is we are going to u1 dot, we are going to call this one using this print2, and we are going to call print3 as well. So difference between this print2 and print3 methods is that both methods, you can see, we can access or call by using the object.print2, object.print3. The difference between these two is that this is a prototype method. What it means is that when we call any method, class will check if it has got the instance method directly available. So this is available for the user object. But if it is not available, what happens is that, for example, if we call print3, it is not inside the class, right? So what happens is that it goes to the prototype of user. So user's prototype is this one, right? So it will check on the prototype if the method is available. So print3 is available on the user prototype, and then it will call it. And let us see how this is behaving in all these three methods. So I'm just going to execute this. And what it is saying that user.print3 is not a function. So we have to do print1. You can see in the static, it is pointing, this is pointing to the user class. In print2, which is the instance method, it is pointing, this is pointing to the user object, this u1. And in the prototype method as well, it is pointing to the object that we have created. So that is how this behaves in the classes. I hope this video was useful to you. In the next video, I will be covering difference between deep cloning and shallow cloning in JavaScript. I'll see you in next one. Till then, enjoy your time.